Hi, my name's Keith Cooper, New Flight Images, and in this video I'm going to have a look at some paper and ink related issues connected with the Canon TC20M. Now I'm doing testing of it on different papers, so I know that it works well, but I've been asked quite a few questions about paper handling, about its ink filling, a few other bits and pieces, and I'm going to try and cover a few of those aspects here. Now, in particular, I've got a maintenance cartridge, which is where waste ink goes, and I've got some spare inks, and I've got quite a few different papers for it. Now, up front, roll paper. Question I was asked about this working with higher quality paper. Yes, it will, but it only handles 2-inch core roll paper. Now the paper I've got here, this is a plain paper. I've got a waterproof paper. I've even got a luster photo paper, 250 gram, all with 2-inch cores. They fit on the spindle holders, no problem, but it's a spindleless system, which means that if you try and take a traditional roll adapter, and this is one of a roll, so this is a 2-inch to 3-inch adapter, that's fine if you've got a spindle, because what happens, this goes in the end of the roll of paper, spindle goes through here, 2-inch core this bit, 3-inch outside, it works. But because this is spindleless, it won't support the weight and the spindle goes at an angle, so you will need some other solution. Now I'm sure it can be done. Do remember too that there is a limit to the diameter of the roll of paper that can go in here. So even with an adapter, I couldn't put one of the rolls of fine art paper I've got here because the rolls are nearly 5 inches diameter. There's a 4-inch limit on this particular printer. So, that is a slight limitation, but there are media available for, different types, and I've tested quite a few. The other thing is sheet media. Several people have asked me about thicker media. I don't have any canvas at the moment. I'm going to try and get some smaller sheets of paper to try on this, because the sheet feed for this is, despite this being a 24-inch printer, the sheet feed is limited to A3 size. So there's a limit on the way. Normally I would print stuff at A3 plus. I've got lots of A3 plus paper, got some A4 paper which works fine in this, but ideally I would like to actually use this to try some other papers, some canvas and the likes, but I have to see what I can find for testing that. But in the meantime, this is the thickest paper I've used in this here, and this is 310 gram. It's a cotton rag paper. Now I'm going to do a video about printing on this paper. It has quite a nice colour gamut. It does not have the depth of blacks that you get with more inks on a system like this, but on a matte art paper like this, it prints very well. Do remember though that if you want to print with this printer on paper, on the heavier papers, say watercolour papers or something like that, you will need papers that are coated for inkjet use. You may need to also set the prevent paper abrasion setting, which affects the head gap slightly. There are some settings in here, but we're into the area here where you really do actually need to have a scan through the manual for that. But in terms of print quality, colour, everything, that's not at all bad really. There are no marks on it, it's printed, there are no roller marks or anything like that. So as long as you don't mind being limited to, as I say, A3 or smaller, then that's fine. If you want larger prints, then roll paper is what it is. And you've got roll paper, you've got a cutter here as well. Now, I did a video looking at one of the papers here. This one here, water resistant paper. These are Canon media. This one worked fine. I also tried Canon's poster software, poster generator. It's an online app, and it allows you to design basic posters, do things like calendars, all kinds of stuff, banners. And you can do that online and then download the file, and it prints. There's a printing app for it as well. You don't download a graphic, so you can't sort of design it online, pull it down, redesign it locally. It's a web-based package. It has posters, all kinds of things. For example, and this is done on waterproof paper, so it can go outside. Here we go, Northlight Images, Certificate of Appreciation for Karen for all the work she does in the business. It says, in expression of our gratitude for esteemed achievements in the field of excellence. And this was presented to her, and then it was presented back to me, and I was told where I could put it. But there we go, you get the idea. Lots and lots of different posters you can print. We'll put that one back there. Now, what about inks? Well, this one has 4 inks. The inks are in bottles. There's a bottle of yellow ink. Now, this printer was set up and used a bit before Canon lent it me. It's printed several hundred sheets looking at the information on the web page for the printer. And as it stands at the moment, all the colours are nearly full, except the yellow, which is half empty. Now, that's not because someone's been printing a lot of yellow. What I suspect is yellow was least used in the printing that they were doing at Canon. I have no idea what it was. So for that print, so they topped up everything else, but didn't top up the yellow. So the yellow is half empty, half full here. To refill it is quite easy. I lift the little panel here. It just lifts up, and there are 4 flaps for the inks, and it reminds me, shows on the screen here, that it is actually that is the yellow, which is at about 1/3 full. Now, the yellow is the nearest one to me. There's a little blue flap I lift up, then there's a little yellow plastic flap that clicks open, and I've got the ink feed. Now, all I need to do for this, take the yellow ink, take the system in. It is keyed. You won't get the inks in the the wrong inks in the wrong connections. Well, not without some considerable effort, because there is a physical keying on the bottle to stop you putting the wrong ink in. So I'm going to put that in. I pop that in. I put that there. I'm just going to put the microphone, and hopefully you can hear the ink going in. Well, that's interesting. The entire bottle has gone in, which would suggest, with these displays, be very careful as to what they say, as to whether you believe them, particularly if you have not been using the printer and somebody else has used it. So there we go. That has taken an entire bottle of yellow ink. Now, I might check afterwards, I've got some spare inks here, I might check afterwards and see whether any of the others also need refilling as well. But we've done that one there. I just have to put the yellow cap back on, that clips into place there, and then there we go, that clicks into place. So we've got that. And now all inks are showing as full. So it's obviously detected that ink has gone into it. Yeah, it seems happy about it. Right, well, there we go. I wasn't quite expecting that. I was expecting maybe half a bottle of ink to go in. Just goes to show that what you see, the information on here, is only the printer's guess of how much is actually in something. But anyway, one last bit I'll have a look at as well is this. This is a maintenance cartridge. Now, this one is showing the maintenance cartridge as almost full. I'm not going to swap it at the moment, but there is a little panel that just flips open here. You don't need to switch it off or anything like this. You just pull out the maintenance cartridge, and there is the maintenance cartridge that's currently working in the printer. Now, I can't see any signs of, well, maybe just a few signs of ink. It's an absorbent pad. It collects ink that's used for cleaning and other purposes. Now, I can feel there's a distinct weight difference here. Now, I pulled this out earlier and weighed it. I'm not going to swap it over because whilst it's flagging as almost full, I'm going to leave it until it's entirely full and actually tells me to swap this one over. Now, I've weighed this one. This is 208 grams as an empty brand new one. This one here is 295 grams. So there you go. It's got 80 odd millilitres, nearly 80 millilitres of ink. So nearly, well, actually over a whole bottle's worth of ink. Now, this is the original one, presumably, that came with a printer. So it's not been changed yet. The question of how many prints you get out of it before you need to change the maintenance tank, I honestly cannot say, but it is hundreds and hundreds. It's going to be a lot, but this printer was used quite a bit before it was sent to me, and I've no idea how it was used, what was printed or anything like that. They could have printed huge, great amounts of stuff. But anyway, there is the maintenance cartridge. There's a little hole here where the ink goes in, that goes into this to be soaked up, and there's a little there's a chip on it that tells it what the status of. But just pop that back in there, pop that in. It doesn't click or anything, it just pushes in, click the bit back, and there we go. So what else really to think about inks on it? Keep spare inks. Don't necessarily trust what you see here on the display. It took a whole bottle there, and I was expecting half a bottle of it. This, well, when you do get your cartridge out, weigh it and see how much ink has gone into it. These are not as cheap as I'd like, but they seem to have a fair capacity. Whether this affects how much your costs depends on your type of printing or whatever, but you should bear in mind the MC32 maintenance cartridge, that is something that will need to be changed. So I've got papers here, I've got photo paper, got plain paper, got a waterproof paper, and I've got plenty of other papers for sheets. They all work very well. It prints very well for 4-colour pigment ink. Always remember that there is a limitation that you've got 4 colours. So that means that the blacks may not be quite the same as on this. And also, I've got some other examples. Black and white. This is not a black and white printer, but that doesn't look too bad. That's on a luster paper. And there we have, that's the matte coated paper. So you can see it's not quite as intense on the matte coated paper as it is on the fine art paper, but still quite tolerable for a matte printer. Now, remember that Canon emphasizes that this printer is for poster, for copying, for artwork print. Yeah, it is not a photo printer. They would like me to emphasize that, but you know, if you want a photo printer with good profiling, it actually works surprisingly well. Anyway, if you've got any questions about specific things, I'm going to be doing some videos that cover making individual prints and things like that for it. But if you've got any general questions about the printer, I've got it here for a while. Just let me know and I'll be happy to see if I can answer them. So thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. That is appreciated. And thank you on what is a very warm day for September here in the UK.